The setup for cable cast on is first to make a slip knot. So make a slip knot and place that on your left needle tip. Tighten that up. Then remember not to use the tail of yarn, but use the working yarn. And the very first stitch is also a setup. So we need to go through the stitch like we're knitting it, bring it through, and now place it onto the left needle tip. From now on, we will be doing the same thing again and again, and doing the cable cast on. So the cable cast on has us go between the two stitches, bring the yarn through, and place it up and on. So we're going to continue doing this till we have the desired number of stitches on our needle. This piece is worked so that there's a tension difference. And the reason I've chosen the cable cast on is because it produces sort of a nice, bulky, larger cast on that produces it takes up a fair amount of space. It is the cast on that, when paired with a traditional bind off, is most likely to produce a really great curl. So I did some experimenting with different cast-ons and bind-offs, and this one was the most consistent. If, after you finish, you find that your cast-on and bind-off bits aren't curling the way you'd like, you can twist them up and pin them, and we'll talk about that once I've got something to show you. But you can also just have a look at your yarn. If it is a woolen spun 2-ply yarn, it is a flatter yarn and is much more likely to produce flat pieces, almost like a flat fringe, rather than a curly fringe, which is what we're going for here. I mean, both things look good. It's a different look, and so if you are looking to get the curly look, you may find that switching to a multi-plied woolen spun yarn is going to get you closer to what I'm doing today. In the pattern for this, you're always going to bind off until you have just one stitch left on the left needle. So that's going to stay the same. The number is going to change in the pattern, but we're always going to bind off the same. Don't bind off loosely. We want there to be a tension difference between this side of our piece and the bind off. If the bind off is done a little more tightly, it will help it curl more. So don't be thinking about having a loose bind off. So again, if you are struggling to get your piece to curl, going and using a tighter needle for the bind off might actually be your way to go. So just bind off all of these pieces, and you're going to bind off until you have just one stitch left on the left needle. When you first start, it won't look like it's curling. Don't panic. As you can see, it's starting to twist up a little bit, and I can even encourage that to do that by just twisting. All right, so as I mentioned, you're going to bind off till you have just one stitch left. Bind off the final stitch. And now I'm going to knit that stitch. So I have 2 stitches on the needle. The pattern is not going to tell you to turn your work at the end of every row, because it is normal to turn your work at the end of every row. So we're going to turn our work now, because we always do at the end of a row. Now we're going to purl 2. And it's going to tell us to turn the work now, because that's not normal in the middle of a row. So we're going to turn the work, and now we're going to cast on however many stitches the pattern tells us. And we're always going to use that cable cast on. Like I said, kind of keep it loose. You keep it loose when you tighten up. If you put your needle between the 2 stitches as you are tightening, that helps keep it nice and spaced apart. So space and draw your loop through, put it in, tighten, and with that spacer in there, and just keep casting on. Cast on loosely, bind off tightly or snugly, and do investigate other yarn constructions if you are struggling with yours, but also do be aware that blocking can help you a fair bit. So once you're done, you can take this, just twist it up. You can, if you want, you could twist it up, pin the end of each one of these and spritz it with a little bit of a water and let it dry.